More people have climbed Mount Everest than have swum the English Channel. That's how tough it is. But it hasn't stopped my guest today. She's just swum the Channel solo in just over 15 hours, and she's done it to highlight the issue of water pollution. I'm journalist Angela Walker, and in this podcast I talk to inspirational people and discuss underreported issues. Today I'm in conversation with Laura Reineke. Laura, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
First of all, congratulations, such a huge achievement. How do you feel?
It was the best day ever. It was the toughest day ever, but the best day ever. Absolutely fantastic.
So, what was it like? What were the conditions like for that swim?
Well, I started at about 2:30 in the morning, so it started off at night, and the sky was really dark, the sea was really dark, it was quite cloudy, and there was no differentiation really between the sea and sky, and there was a big swell. It wasn't choppy, but there was a big swell, so the boat was going up and down, I was going up and down, and I've never been seasick or motion sick before, but I was, and for the first 3 hours I was retching and being sick, and I actually thought the first 3 hours was 8 hours. That's how bad it felt. And I was in my head, you get little demons, and this demon was saying you're not going to make it because you can't keep your feet down, you're now feeling cold because you're feeling poorly, and then you think, just put your big boy pants on and do it. You've trained for so long, just do it. So the sky got a bit lighter, I started to feel better, and then the sun came up and I warmed up a bit, so it was all good.
Amazing. So how can you possibly train for something like that? Talk us through it.
You have to be completely single-minded. You have to know that you have done everything in your power to make it to France, so that if you are pulled out for medical reasons or any reason at all, it's not your fault, because that could really, that would be a very tough thing to get over.
Yeah, is it like when you run a marathon and then you hit the wall and you're like, I don't think I can carry on anymore, and then suddenly you manage to get this kind of burst of energy that sees you through?
I didn't actually hit a wall. I had done all my training. I think out of the whole year's training I only missed 3 sessions, and I had literally dedicated any spare time to training. So I didn't hit a wall. I'd done the training. I was okay. Some people do hit a wall and you have to get past that. I think probably my wall wasn't a physical one. It was that first mental one. 90% of it, I would say, is mental strength rather than physical.
Gosh. And how cold was the water? Do you know what temperature
it was? Between 16 and 19. So it's always slightly colder on the English side, of course. And then in the middle, in the separation zone, you get really cold and hot patches. It's very strange. You'd think as it's one body of water, it would all be one temperature, but it isn't. And then on the French side, it got to 19 almost in inshore waters.
So, and it's about 20 miles, am I right?
21.
21, yeah, the extra mile makes all the difference. So that's and you're swimming for a long time. What kind of things do you see while you're swimming that distance?
So I actually swam 56 kilometres. You don't see an awful lot. It's quite, the water's quite milky, and you don't see a huge amount, but there are a lot of jellyfish. Jellyfish are the cleaners of the sea, so there seem to be a lot more of them at the moment because we're filling our waterways with poo.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk to you about the sewage pollution, actually. But back to the swim. Did you see any boats or any traffic?
Yes, lots of traffic. So you go. There are different zones in the channel. You start off on British inshore waters, and then you have the British shipping lane where the ships go one way, and then you have a separation zone, and the French shipping lane where the ships go the other way, and then in French inshore. So yes, you see a lot of huge tankers and things like that.
Wow, that's amazing. And there you are in the water, so small, bobbing around, trying to make your way to France.
When you think of it like that, it does sound a bit strange, doesn't it? I think we as swimmers normalise things like this. So really, for me, it was just another day swimming, even though it was massive, don't get me wrong. It was just another day swimming because you have to normalise it in order to be able to do it, because actually in real fact it is an extreme sport.
Yeah, of course. It's so far.
Yeah.
And of course you've got like a support boat.
Yeah.
And talk me through what the support's like. Who's there? What are they doing to help?
So you have a pilot boat, and he has his own crew, and so there was my pilot Eddie Spelling, and he had 2 crew, and then I have my own crew. There were 3 people on my crew: my friend Lee, another mermaid Joni, and Debbie Fraser. So one person fed me and kept control of my nutrition. One updated social media, and we were live on BBC Radio Berkshire quite a lot that day, and the other one was sort of motivational and kept me going on relaying messages from friends and family from the WhatsApp group onto a whiteboard so I could see some of them.
Great. I bet that kept you going, did it?
Oh, absolutely, yes. That, and Debbie was amazing on my feeds. I didn't even know what was coming next. I tried to eat some solids, but they all just feel like dust in your mouth with the salt. And so it was liquid feed only, really.
How did you do that? Yeah.
So it's on a line, on a reel, basically, and they chuck a bottle to you on a line. You down it as quickly as you can, still kicking so you're not losing ground, and then drop it, and they reel it back in again.
Wow, what a setup.
Yeah,
gosh,
it's
amazing. So talk to me about the Henley Mermaids. How did that get started, and what's that all about?
Got started about 6 years ago. I've known 2 of the mermaids for a very long time because of our kids are similar ages. But we all really met through Henley Open Water Swimming Club and decided that we didn't just want to swim on a Saturday when the club swims were. So we set up a WhatsApp group, which I called Henley Mermaids. And we swam together. We get on really well. We're like sisters. We bicker as well and we argue and it's just like a family. And I had the bright idea one year, because I'd heard other people had been doing it, and another group in the club had done it, to do an English Channel relay. And I managed to con all the others into the fact that it was a really good idea. Mm-hmm. So that was in 2020. So we did the English Channel in relay in 2020, and then the Bristol Channel in 2021, and last year the North Channel, and we do various other swims, and each year we have a charity we raise money for.
So it sounds like it's sort of escalated.
It has gone mad. It has escalated hugely, mainly because last year our charity was Surfers Against Sewage. Mm-hmm. So Jo Robb, who's one of the mermaids, she is also Green Councillor on South Oxfordshire District Council, and she's been going on about the sewage pollution for some time. So she initiated it really, and then we've all just learned a huge amount through Surfers Against Sewage to begin with. And then another thing we did last year was swim the length of the Thames from source at Castle Eton to Henley. And on our last stretch in November, we swam under the bridge and then had a protest in Henley against sewage pollution. And from there, it just skyrocketed. And we now are amongst some of the top campaigners in the country for clean water.
What can we do about this sewage pollution? Because, I've done podcasts on this. I've been reporting on it myself over the years. And there is a legal case being brought against some of the water companies for under-reporting the amount of sewage that they are dumping. But what do you think can be done?
I think the only thing we can do, we're slightly powerless in this, is educate, really. The failing water companies have relied on our ignorance to what's been going on, and they've been unregulated because the regulators, Environment Agency Ofwat, have just been underfunded, lost all their money. They have not been pulling them up or regulating them in any way, almost. So they've just been getting away with it. But now they're beginning not to get away with it. We need a government that will put really strong environmental measures in place, not soften them like they're trying to do at the moment. And we need to make change soon. We are in a serious water emergency. Thames Water are extracting a huge amount of water from our waterways, and then putting it back into the system for us to use, and then losing a third of it to leaks. So our rivers are really low, and they get even lower, and then they spill sewage into it, so it's much more concentrated. It's killing wildlife, it's killing... the rivers are in really, really poor health, and some are dead. The only way we can do it is to make everybody aware so that they can't get away with anything any longer.
What do you think about this legal action? How confident do you feel about that?
Oh, very confident. We have proof that they have illegally dumped what is known as dry spills when there hasn't been any rain. In fact, one was on the hottest day of the year last year when there were hundreds of people in the river cooling off. They come up with all sorts of excuses that, oh no, that wasn't a spill. I know it was on the EDM map, which is their monitoring of spills, but it was actually a mistake on one of the readings. Well, it's not true. We do have proof that they have illegally spilt.
Yeah, it's supposed to be in exceptional circumstances.
Yes.
And one might argue if it's for 100 days of the year consecutively, that's not exceptional, is it? That's the norm.
No. The sewage treatment works simply don't have the capacity.
You've been in good company because I know that you've done some campaigning with Feargal Sharkey and I've seen you with Steve Backshall. How has it been kind of like working alongside, campaigning alongside people like this?
We've had a fantastic thing. We call it mermaiding, and we've taken our mermaiding to some fantastic places purely by the power of saying yes to things. We've got to do things that nobody gets to do. For instance, we got invited to Chelsea Flower Show by a sculptor who uses reclaimed things in her gardens along with her sculptures, and we had to pose in our swimming costumes on press day at Chelsea Flower Show and that sort of thing. But and we've got to go to the Houses of Parliament with Feargal Sharkey, and we've got to go to Steve Backshall's house and film with him. What a lovely man. And we all swam in the river outside his house. And yeah, we get to do some really fantastic things. And these people are really important to us because they're basically our heroes and they are supporting the campaign. That sort of thing will make a difference.
So where are you going next with this campaign against sewage pollution?
We are continuing our campaign and we'll just keep going until our river is happy and healthy. The poor Thames is really limping along. It's in really poor health. We want to see, first of all, the Thames cleaned up. We want sewage treatment work in Henley to have a proper upgrade. So some sewage treatment works are due for upgrade in 2025. Thames Water are only spending about 2 million on each upgrade, which means that they're not doing enough of an upgrade to stop them spilling. So there's absolutely no point in them doing it. They also aren't providing any sort of cleaning system to clean off the bacteria. So at the moment, all the sewage that passes through sewage treatment works and comes out the other side as treated effluent and is apparently clean water hasn't been cleaned of bacteria. So it's still got pharmaceuticals in it. So it's got antibiotics, recreational drugs, it's got hormones, E. coli, and all the things that fecal bacteria produce, and that's going straight into our waterways. And generally, it's released into the tributaries that feed the waterways, where things like places where fish go to breed. So we've got antibiotic-resistant fish. Swan numbers are down. It's really a horrific tale that people don't realise quite the scale of.
And I know we sort of touched on it earlier, is in that the government was trying to relax the rules to do with building new houses. How can we get this balance between looking after our waterways, but also providing new homes which are desperately needed?
It won't cost any more to use rainwater collection systems than it will to join it up to our combined sewers. Our problem here is we have combined sewers, so all the runoff from roofs goes in with all the water from your toilet system. This is our problem, but there's been no investment into infrastructure since privatisation. You know, foreign companies own our water, and it's easy for them. They're making really easy money and having absolutely no consequences. We need to have existing houses moved over to rainwater collection and to brown water use for our loos and for that sort of thing. We are in a water emergency. North London, in the very near future, will be rationed on their water. We are running out. It's a shared resource that isn't shared. So over 50% of the water that we use is used by the elite and the mega rich up in the Chiltern Hills with their swimming pools, their hot tubs and their big gardens they're watering. The other 50% is used by the rest of us. So it's not a shared resource that it should be.
That's really fascinating. I had no idea about that at all.
Yeah.
And I want to touch on something else that you're really passionate about, which is Henley Music School.
Yeah.
Tell me about your involvement. And I know that you're in a bit of trouble at the moment.
Yes, like many charities, we're struggling to raise the funds. So about 16, 17 years ago, I set up Henley Music School. In response to the government's pulling of funding for schools, when my children were at primary school, in fact. And people kept coming up and asking me to teach Johnny the violin or to run the orchestra. And as I was running the orchestra, eventually it got to just my 3 children in the orchestra, and I realised that kids just weren't learning music. In fact, some schools, they weren't even singing in assembly. And in other schools, there wasn't even a teacher that could read music. So I thought, well, something has to be done here because there is nobody to teach this subject and the kids simply aren't learning it. So it started off as sort of after-school club and a bit of a groups and individual lessons. And at that time, the Henley Festival set up a children's orchestra called the Henley Festival Orchestra, and I ran that for a while. When they pulled funding for that, they asked me to take it on as Henley Music School, which I did, and suddenly I got like 70 extra kids. So I thought, oh dear, I need a bit of governance now. So we made it into a community interest company. And it just grew and grew to the point that we need 60 grand a year to run. So we made charitable conversion. And up until about 2 years ago, COVID really, raising the 60 grand a year wasn't too difficult. I mean, it was work, but it wasn't too difficult. Since COVID, it has become really virtually impossible. And that's no exaggeration. Everybody's feeling the pinch. Our usual funders are either not engaging at all or just aren't giving as much. And because they're inundated with applications by all the other charities that are struggling. The worst thing about all of this is these charities shouldn't exist. I shouldn't be campaigning for clean waterways. I shouldn't be running a music school because the government should be doing these things. They should be providing our children with a decent all-round education, to make them decent human beings and active in communities and making the world better than when they arrived in it. At the moment, they're not. In many cases, children leave school feeling absolutely useless because they've been made to do maths, English and science, and that is it. That child may be a fantastic artist, a musician, a creative, and they've been made to do these subjects that they're not good at, so they leave with low grades, and then they're made to feel silly, and then they go and hang around on street corners and behave badly. They don't become decent members of society because they don't feel like they're wanted or needed or they're worth anything. So what role, tell me how it works at Henley Music School. Do you go into schools and teach kids? Talk me through that. So we provide all forms of music education to anybody. So we do curriculum in-school lessons, we do in-school clubs, after-school clubs, individual lessons, ensemble work, groups, everything you can think of. And for all of those activities, we provide bursaries of up to 100%. And free loan of an instrument. And we work with the school budget, so no school pays the full price. What we try to do is take away any barriers to learning music. So refugees get automatic free lessons. Pupil premium children, that's children on free school meals, automatically get free lessons. And some children on the autism spectrum get specialist piano lessons. Now, we do this in a school in Henley that has a high number of children with additional needs. And the head there is absolutely amazed at the difference in their attitude to learning, their behaviour, and how it has affected the whole class, because they are more engaged and they're looking forward to playing the piano, and their brains are being used differently. Why is music so effective? It's such a healer, do you think? It makes you feel something. People like different styles of music, you'll listen to different things from me. But everybody listens to music because it makes you feel something. It uses a different part of our brain. And many of these children now aren't having that part of their brain used, but it's the part of the brain that makes your fine motor skills better, your teamwork better, your concentration, confidence, everything. And the kids now, the COVID children that are now in school, have a really low understanding of communication. The teachers are really struggling with the cohort of kids that have grown up small. And music is a brilliant way of bringing them together and making them work as a team and being able to relate to each other. But they're just not getting it.
So how serious is the situation with Henley Music School, and what will be the consequences if you can't get this funding together?
It's very serious. We are at 0 as of the end of this month. We have had to put a halt on all bursaries, so we are not paying our teachers. Luckily, some of our teachers are carrying on anyway, and we are just really struggling. I'm looking at taking redundancy or unpaid sabbatical to save the charity money in order that we can preserve these bursaries and provide what we promise we will provide. But that leaves me as the only income earner in my household without an income. We're at an emergency stage. We need funds now.
If anyone's listening and they work for a company that might be able to help out, or they could be an individual that wants to help out, what's your message to them?
Please come and talk to me. I can tell you all about music school and I can show you the benefits that these children feel. People might think that, the county council have a music service, but they've never had a music service in Henley because Oxfordshire is such a long, thin county. The teachers mainly come from Oxford, and they're not going to drive for an hour each way to teach 2 clarinet pupils or something like that. We really need it in Henley. All kids need it.
I mean, people might think, well, Henley, it's quite an affluent area. Why does it need a music charity? What would you say to those people?
On the outward-facing face of Henley, yes, it would look affluent, and don't get me wrong, there are a lot of very wealthy people in Henley, but equally there's a whole nother side of it. We have the same families from low income. It's no different from any other town really, only that it looks posh.
Laura, thank you so much for talking to me today. It's been a pleasure to have you.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening, and I hope you've enjoyed the show. Today I've been in conversation with Henley Mermaid and English Channel swimmer Laura Reineke. If you have enjoyed the show, do leave us a rating and subscribe, because it does mean that due to the algorithms, more people will get to find out about the podcast. And if you'd like to get in touch, drop me a line through my website on AngelaWalkerReports.com.